I've got today the greatest myth in youth baseball rules coming right up. This is a rule that is mistaken, and I've seen it called incorrectly in baseball leagues and tournaments, travel ball, the whole 9 yards. I've seen it wrong with coaches, umpires in charge, and tournament directors. And it's time that we talk about it so that we can get this right. And I'm not talking about the swinging strike that hits the batter. Nope, if that's strike 3, you're out, okay? I'm not talking about a drop third strike with a runner occupied first base at stealing. No, that's still an occupied base. No drop third strike is in play. I'm not talking about a foul tip being a dead ball. No, foul tip is a live ball. You can steal on a foul tip. What I'm talking about today is awarding bases in a 1+1 situation. I challenge you to get out the MLB rulebook and find anywhere in the rulebook where it says that we award bases in a 1+1 situation. I'll spare you the time and effort. It doesn't exist. So let's talk about this rule here. Where does it come from? This is where I think it comes from. When we award bases, we award one base if a ball pitched to the batter or thrown by the pitcher from his position on the pitcher's plate to a base to catch a runner goes into the standard bench. Dead ball, we give one base. So let's take a look at this situation. So we have a play where there is a runner on first and the ball is thrown out of the field of play. The runner is given second base. A lot of people incorrectly think that he is given 1+1. He's given one base for diving back to first and one base because the ball was thrown out of the field of play. Not true. He's given one base according to the rules, as we just read. Let's take a look at this rule. This is 2 bases, and this is where I think a lot of people get this wrong. So we give 2 bases when no spectators on the field of play, ball goes into the stands, or thrown out of field of play, yada, yada, yada. The ball is dead when such a wild throw is the first play by an infielder. The umpire in awarding bases shall be governed by the position of the runners at the time the ball was pitched. In all other cases, the umpire shall be governed by the position of the runners at the time the wild throw was made. So this is a really important distinction that umpires need to be paying close attention to. So this is where I think we get this wrong. And as a coach, when you talk to the umpires, if you say, hey, that's 2 bases from the time of the throw, or hey, that's 2 bases from the time of the pitch, then you are showing to the umpire that you know what you're talking about, right? Because that's the best way to communicate. That's 2 bases from the time of the throw. So let's talk about where this can be a little crazy, all right? Let's get another rule. Effective removing the pivot plate, removing pivot foot from the plate. So if you remove your pivot foot from contacting with the pitcher's plate by stepping backward with that foot, which is a common thing that people do, we'll say, hey, step off, step off, step off. And the pitcher will step off. That pitcher thereby becomes an infielder. And if he makes a wild throw from that position, it shall be considered the same as a wild throw by any other infielder. Okay? Now we know that an infielder making a wild throw is we're awarding 2 bases to the runner. 2 bases from the time of the pitch or 2 bases from the time of the throw. And given that there hasn't been a pitch thrown here, it is 2 bases from the time of the throw. I don't have any video on this because I think that it's really poor coaching form to coach a player to step off the rubber and then throw the ball over to a plate or over to a base because the penalty is so severe. So I don't have a video of that, but let's take a look. If we were to actually, in this situation, if this pitcher actually were to step off and throws it out, that runner doesn't get second. He gets third base. So that penalty is severe. So do not coach your players to step off the rubber and then throw to a base because they're an infielder making a wild throw at that point. So let's talk about a different situation. Here we are. We've got runners on first and second and third, and the ball is hit to the outfield. Okay? Runner advances to second. The ball is then thrown by the left fielder out of the field of play. That runner at second has legally occupied second base. Okay? So, in this situation, we go back to the rule where we look at the position of the runners at the time the ball was pitched. In all other cases, the umpire shall be governed by the position of the runners at the time the wild throw was made. So if it were an infielder throwing this ball, it would be 2 bases from the time of the pitch. But given that it was an outfielder throwing this ball, it is 2 bases from the time the wild throw was made. So this is a pretty severe rule as well. So the left fielder throws this ball out of the field of play. That runner on second that ended up on second, he is legally occupied second base by the time that wild throw is made. He should be awarded home. And the runner on first should be awarded third base. Now let's look at a different situation. In this play, there was a runner that was on first and a runner on second, and there was less than 2 outs. A ball was hit to the outfield where it was caught, but in the process, this runner on second was advancing towards third base. And the center fielder, seeing this runner advance into third base, catches the ball. Being a young player, he actually threw the ball to third base, and you got it, the ball bounced out of the field of play. The runner in this situation was not returning to tag up. The ball bounced out of field of play. He then returned to tag. He tagged up on second, and then the umpires awarded him third base. Now, this is not the correct call. Where should he have been? Let's take a look. First off, occupying a base. A runner occupies the right to an occupied base when he touches it before he is out. He is then entitled to it until he is put out or forced to vacate it for another runner legally entitled to that base. So at that moment, there was nobody that was legally entitled to that base. He had occupied it, and that was his base. Let's take a look at the retouching the base rule. If a runner, let's look at the highlighted portion. If a runner is forced to return to a base after a catch, he must retouch his original base, even though, because of some ground rule or other rule, he is awarded additional bases. He may retouch while the ball is dead, and the award is then made from his original base. So in this situation, the runner started off on second. He had legally occupied second base. The ball was then caught. He retreated back to second base to tag. Even though the dead ball had been called, he should have then been awarded home. So I want you to be aware of these rules. Think about them. And when you're talking with the umpire, make certain that you use the terms from the time of the throw or from the time of the pitch. And umpires, when you're calling your awards to coaches, say that as well. That's 2 bases from the time of the pitch, or that's 2 bases from the time of the throw, or in the situation of the pitcher who was on the rubber, that's 1 base from the pitch. And we'll all sound like we know what we're talking about. Hey, everybody, have a wonderful day, and like and subscribe. More of these videos are coming.